All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here at AM 830 WCRN as a flagship station and affiliates, live streaming on the TuneIn app. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do it, no questions asked. You can reach the studio for conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Anytime over the next hour. We're also using our text line today. So if you want to text in real time, that is 617-297-8388 or email textjoe on the radio at gmail.com. It appears on the same screen in studio. And again, folks, if you're emailing the show, use joemshow@gmail.com. I only look at that text one when I'm on the air. So I get all these messages at Friday at 12:55 that you meant to send me during the week. We're also live streaming the show on social media platforms, my Facebook page and Twitter page at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi. That is the handle to follow on social media, YouTube channel, the Joe Mangiacotti Show, my LinkedIn page, and even Twitch TV at Joe M Show. So those are the ways to monitor the show, listen to it, and participate, 508-871-7000. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention before we got into anything. One is that Justice Clarence has been released from the hospital today. It was a week ago. He was admitted into the hospital at 73 years old with an infection. They combated that with intravenous antibiotics. He seems to be fine. The court says absolutely he did not have COVID-19. It is not COVID related at all. It was an infection, and he's vaccinated and boosted, as I'm sure all the justices are. So they released him today, so he should be fine. And of course, all of the justices' health is always closely monitored. Obviously, this is a position for life, as we've been discussing. As Judge Brown Jackson she just wrapped up her hearing. She's, I think, 51 years old, right in that age. So, I mean, this is a woman once appointed to the Supreme Court, could sit on that bench conceivably 30 plus years. That's the way our founding fathers set this up, folks. So, especially if the justice may be of the political leaning opposite of what's occupying the White House, they watch very, very closely. When we talk about KJ, it's Brown Jackson, KBJ, I guess they're calling her, right? That's the KBJ. KBJ is, it's kind of a push, right? Breyer's liberal, leftist, so it's kind of a push. It's not like her appointment is going to drastically change the composition of the court. So it's kind of a push there. But if Clarence Thomas was to decide to retire, maybe for health reasons or something like that, that would be a huge thing if Biden had another appointment, because that would change the makeup of the court. So good news is the judge has been released, and that's it. Now there's some static, though, about his wife, Jeannie, because she attended a rally for then President Donald Trump. And now they're getting texts between her and Mark Meadows. Again, it sounds like, hey, this is the makings of another big old witch hunt, because we saw that happen for years, even before Donald Trump went into the White House, the entire time he was in the White House, and even continued after he left the White House. And we'll get into some other stuff there. But anyway, Justice Clarence Thomas has been released from the hospital today, so that's great news. Also, I just wanted to, because I've been watching this story, I know a lot of you are too, that Benjamin Hall, who's a Fox reporter who was in Ukraine and fell under attack, his two coworkers did not survive, including a 24-year-old female Ukrainian woman who served as a guide and interpreter. She lost her life. A 55-year-old producer who has been behind the line in many, including Afghanistan, Iraq war. I mean, this guy has really seen it, right? He's a hardened war correspondent. He lost his life. Benjamin Hall, apparently seriously injured. But despite of all the stories and articles that I've read concerning him, they have never, and I understand this. It is after all medical privacy. They've never said what the injury was. That he has gone under several operations and that he is fighting very hard. That's what we hear. But what the injury is, we don't hear. So I good thoughts and prayers. But the point is, he has been taken from Germany. He's back in the States. So the update on that, he was transferred from the Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany to the Brooke Army Medical Center, and that's located Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam, Houston, Texas. It's a premier military medical facility, and he's receiving, of course, excellent care while he continues to recover from his serious injuries and multiple surgeries. That's the closest we get to it. So I don't know if it's a head injury or if he had trauma to the body, but he's fighting hard. He's in good spirits. He's back in the United States. He has 3 young daughters, and so we'll be watching that. Good for Ben. He is on the mend, and he's back in the States receiving medical care. All right, folks, 10 minutes after the hour. This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxtrap Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. So the president's wrapping up the trip to Europe. I don't know how much, you get to see this because it was, most of the stuff was taking place in the middle of the workday here. So a lot of people weren't able to watch it and watch the speeches and so forth. Overall, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to give Biden some good grades, some kudos and a few things that he's done. But again, overall, the president did not show strength or the strength of the United States. We've talked about this before, his constant of what they won't do, and then over talking. He over spoke a little bit right yesterday. And he's taken some questions. They moved his 3:00 our time presser up to 1:30 all of a sudden. So that put a scramble into many of the reporters and so forth, because that's just that's a monkey wrench in it when you got all of the logistics that's going on. So he was talking and he started to do that ramble thing, folks, and he got to the point where he was going to go and meet, and then all of a sudden I think it kicks in, or maybe he saw a Secret Serviceman telling him to cut or something, but he said, I guess I'm not supposed to say where I'm going. And I'm thinking, that's actually for your safety more than ours. I mean, we're fine. We're all back here in the United States. You're the one in a hot zone or near the hot zone, and it's for your safety. You shouldn't be talking about who you're meeting and where you're going. But the point is, there's a few things that he said that, we got to talk about. All right. First of all, the answer to the chemical attack, right? Chemical warfare. I'm not sure what he's thinking or how he's thinking it, but this is when you let him talk, you realize that tidbits of what must have been closed doors or behind closed doors discussions slip out into his ramble. And what was very concerning to most everybody, and of course the White House is trying to walk it back, and all the handles are, is that when President Biden said NATO would respond, quote, in kind if Russia uses weapons of mass destruction in Ukraine. Now, the term in kind means just that, would respond with the same kind of tactics. So by saying that we would respond in kind, he's saying the United States would use chemical weapons, which of course we would not. So that was alarming. And of course, you can understand why everybody wants to walk that back. They don't want the United States on record of saying that if Vlad Putin uses chemical weapons, we'll do the same thing. So that was eyebrow raising and of concern. And he said, we will respond if he uses it, referring to Putin. The nature of the response depends on the nature of the use. Okay. A little bit better on the political diplomatic stage, because he's saying, well, look at the situation. And that's always been American policy when it comes to this stuff. right? It's a response that is equal in to whatever action was taken against us, but not necessarily the same thing. So if they hit something of ours, maybe we take out a fueling station or something like that, or a terrorist. They do a terrorist attack, and maybe we blow up the head of a terrorist cell on a bridge. You know what I'm saying? So it all depends what it is. It's always been, but there's nothing wrong with having a little mystery in the United States response. And I wouldn't have had a problem with President Biden saying something along that lines like, well, he just better not do that. It wouldn't be a wise thing. And leave it at that. Let him use his imagination. All right, folks, 15 minutes after the hour, we're going to take a quick break here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show from Box Shop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. Stick with us. Back on the other side. Hey folks, Joe Mangiacotti here, and I have recently purged and refreshed with new furniture and, most importantly, a new bed. We spend about a third of our life on our mattresses, and it's so vital we have the right one, and we don't break the bank to do that. I first bought a mattress from the big store the brothers used to own, and a power base that moved the head and feet, and then I met John, and I checked out his showroom at 50 Main Street in Ashland and online at boxdropmiddlesex.com, and ended up with a better mattress, a power base that also heats and massages, all for less than half of what I was going to spend at the other place. Boxdrop is a discount mattress store, and John specializes in clearance and closeouts, and he buys directly from the manufacturer with a low overhead and just family employees, passing the savings on to you, and you can see it reflected in the price every day. Click boxdropmiddlesex.com or call John on his cell. This is his cell number, 508-579-9303. That's 508-579-9303. And you can find John on Facebook at Boxdrop Middlesex. John loves referrals, and this is the best referral I've given so far this year. Dropboxmiddlesex.com. This Find a Forever Home for Teddy's Friends is brought to you by Boxdrop Middlesex Mattress Outlet. Today's candidate is JoJo, a 6-year-old large mixed retriever in Labrador. This gentleman has wooed staff and volunteers with his suave looks and charming personality. Between his handsome face, goofy and mature personality, and medium energy, everyone who meets him falls in love. JoJo wants you to know how accomplished he is, house-trained, crate-trained, and all about keeping his space clean. Squeaky toys or balls, JoJo loves them all. He loves all toys. He loves to toss them around with you or even by himself. Doesn't mind playing solo for a while when you're busy. JoJo enjoys walking with his dog friends. We're not sure how he feels about cats. If you think JoJo is your new best friend, click Teddy Good Pup's Facebook page, pictures, and link to the Bay Path Animal Rescue League in Hopkinton. Find a Forever Home is brought to you by Boxdrop Middlesex Mattress Outlet. Click boxdropmiddlesex.com on Facebook at Boxdrop Middlesex.
We know why you're awake. Your child is about to get their driver's license. Levante's Auto School offers 1-week driving programs to help make sure your child stays safe and focused behind the wheel.
877 Drive Ed. Who's Ed?
That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoschool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. Oh, 877 Drive Ed.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. When he drives a car off a lot, the value goes up. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of a Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxdrop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. So President Biden, over in the heat of it, not Ukraine, of course, Poland, he's meeting with the heads of other nations. Again, I want to just go back to the comment or his response to the question regarding chemical weapons and the in-kind. Again, they're walking that back. I hope that's not what he meant. I hope that was a slip of the tongue, and he was just lazily using an expression and didn't mean literally in kind. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, she was speaking to reporters from the alliance headquarters in Brussels, and she said using chemical weapons would change the nature of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. No kidding. Of course it would. It would be a blatant violation of international law with far-reaching consequences. And she added that the use of such weapons would impact nearby NATO members and countries. So that alone, that any one of those NATO nations has the option of stepping forward to NATO and asking Article 5 to be invoked at that point. And then we're so much more in the thick of it than we are already. All right, so we have that little thing going on. Meanwhile, Biden is saying, look, he spoke after a lot of meetings with the European Union, G7 partners, and NATO allies. But he also said that he would support an effort to expel Russia from the G20 group of economics. Now, the thing about that is Putin worked very hard, right, to get Russia into the G20. So expelling him from that would be significant. Their economy is, they finally opened their stock market, but they did it with a lot of caveats, right? Foreign purchases and sales couldn't happen. There was a lot of safeguards put in place so that it didn't actually go over the edge. Now, we also have to look at China's role here. And I'm wondering, and not just me, I think a lot of people are wondering if China's initial appearance of being involved here in the reports of Xi Jinping saying, hey, could you hold this off till the Olympics? I really don't want it to sidetrack everything we've done. We spent so much time relocating citizens, cleaning up the place, and installing all kinds of spy equipment and secret police working very much overtime to make sure we could monitor all the athletes, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want this messed up. From that to the request of soldiers and armament and so forth. So the question is, and I think everybody's wondering, how much has China already done for Putin and Russia? Did they think, because we remember now, we're getting all the other side of it from Russia intelligence. And I'm going to sidetrack here for a moment because reports, and this is something I don't know what to trust, right? All of us are in the same boat because depending on which retired general you're watching speaking on the hot talking head shows, one saying it's all over, Ukraine's flat and it's dust, it's all over. The next general is saying Ukraine has them on the run and they totally underestimated it. So who do we listen to? Who do we trust? We're not sure what is the propaganda, what is the actual news. Because some of the headlines that came out we find out later they were propaganda. They were meant to rally the troops and give some hope. But it does look like Ukraine really did take out a Russian transport ship in a harbor. That seems to be real. There's footage of the ship burning. So we have to wonder how much is real, how much isn't. And the reports coming out is that nobody wants to be the person to give Vladimir Putin the bad news. Apparently, that's a real shoot the messenger situation. So you don't want to be the one telling him things didn't go the way it was supposed to. We'll phone that in, And there's concern that he's arrested the head of what used to be the KGB, the FSB, and he doesn't like the idea here or the notion that somehow we, American intelligence, knows things. And that means somebody is talking. And in Putin's world, just like in organized crime world or the mafia world, that's not a good thing. And you certainly don't want to be caught as the person who's ratting things out. But we obviously have some kind of intelligence going here because of the 3 attempts on President Zelensky's life were thwarted. We knew the Chechens were coming. We knew the Wagner group was coming, right? We knew all these things. We moved him. We protected him. So there is an asset somewhere in the Russian government, obviously. And that will not sit well with Vladimir Putin. It just isn't going to happen. And he will find who that person is. And he may not find it before he's out of the picture. But the point is, he's searching. So we don't know what's what. But apparently they really did believe, or at least the messaging coming down from the top in Russia was that these soldiers were going to be met and greeted and come back to Mother Russia. And these soldiers would be considered heroes, the ones that weren't lied to until they were just going on training missions. And we got the reports of one tank operator driving over his commander because he'd been lied to. Again, the reports come out. We can't tell what is real, what isn't real. But I'm tending to believe that this invasion of Ukraine is not going the way Putin thought it would. And we can look at things to indicate that, right? Because when you send in a convoy that's 40 miles long, you equip them for their mission. And they outfitted this convoy with 3 days of food, 3 days of fuel and ammunition. It didn't happen. They sat there for longer than 3 days, right? They sat there for weeks. So something happened. Something happened. They really thought that Ukraine was going to be a pushover. And then you see NATO unite. And yes, and we hear Joe Biden say this over and over again because it's like the one thing that he has to hang his hat on is just saying how strong NATO is. And of course, they're trying to say Donald Trump wanted to do away with NATO to clarify that situation. Donald Trump wanted the NATO nations to pay their dues. All of those who are members of NATO had agreed on a percentage of the GDP goes towards NATO, and that's what funds it for the mutual defense and protection of the NATO allies, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, for all of those that are participating. So Trump, being Trump,
2 minutes,
points out, hey, a lot of you have not paid your dues. And if you don't pay your dues, you're really not a member. Because people like Germany and even Canada, they're like, hey, it doesn't matter. I mean, if something happens, of course, the United States coming to our aid. And then when Donald Trump says, actually, if you're not up on your dues, you're on your own. That's how it works. So you can thank Donald Trump for the billions of dollars that were paid into NATO to bring them up to date, because that's why it happened. Because you had a president who said, hey, the rules are you pay. If you don't pay, you don't get the protection. And when they realized a guy like Donald Trump means that, they wrote the checks. They couldn't catch up all the way, but they were catching up, including Germany. So thank Trump for NATO's war chest right now.
1 minute.
And he didn't want to do away with NATO. He wanted NATO to be useful, solid, up to date, funded, instead of the taxpayers of the United States making up the difference there. So we have this whole situation with NATO, the Article 5, and the delicate balance here. But we do have to take a break at the bottom of the hour here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show. So remember, we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. So just punch in WCRN and you can take us anywhere. Tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do it. No questions asked whatsoever. And check out either my YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter page, all streaming this with the audio as well. And always follow
30.
us at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show for social media. Follow my Twitter account. Please go to the YouTube channel, like that, Facebook, etc. It just helps with everything if you can do that. Lines are open and available. 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Hey, the text line 617-297-8388. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back for the second half of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. And don't forget, if you want to reach the show off air, it's joemshow@gmail.com, not the text Joe on the radio.
This is Full Service Radio, AM 830, WCRN, Worcester, Metro West.
I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. The government in Mariupol in Ukraine says about 300 people were killed in a Russian airstrike on a theater.
The post on the city government Telegram channel cites eyewitnesses for the toll of about 300. It was not immediately clear whether emergency workers had finished excavating the site or how the eyewitnesses arrived at the horrific death toll. When the theater was struck, an enormous inscription reading "Children" was posted outside in Russian, intending to be visible from the skies above. Soon after the strike, Ukraine's Human Rights Commissioner said more than 1,300 people.
The same
had been
story they
sheltering
ran
in the
last
building.
week.
I'm Charles Philadelphia.
In Poland, President Biden saluted U.S. troops and saluted Poland for giving refuge to more than 2 million refugees who have fled Russia's invasion. Then he met with humanitarian experts on the ground about what will be needed to mitigate the growing suffering. I'm Ed Donahue.
This is important news. If you have unfiled tax returns, the IRS is shifting gears and ramping up investigations on non-filers this year. If you fail to file your tax returns for a year or more, or you owe back taxes, now's the time to call Optima Tax Relief before the IRS finds you. Optima is America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm, specialized in helping individuals, families, and businesses get right with the IRS. They're experts in the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, a powerful new program that can make resolving tax issues easier. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, Optima's award-winning team has helped thousands of people protect their paychecks, bank accounts, homes, and businesses by putting their tax problems to rest, resolving over $1 billion in tax debts for their clients. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-467-2766, 800-467-2766, 800-467-2766.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on radio 830 WCRN. We'll see a little bit of an increase in clouds as we head through the afternoon. I think all around I'd call it partly sunny and mostly dry, just the slightest chance for a little pop-up sprinkle in one or two communities this afternoon. So enjoy the warmth today because it does get a little cooler over the weekend. Both afternoons, we'll see some increasing clouds and the chance for a few showers out there, both Saturday and Sunday. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Another fabulous Friday in New England. I'm Ted A. It is March 25th. In an affront to the people of the Commonwealth, but not a surprise, the Senate of Massachusetts has voted against pausing the state gas tax. Cocktails to go and outdoor dining will continue in the Bay State for at least one more year. Eating out is a fine dining must. However, many believe allowing on-premise liquor purveyors to operate like a package store is a dangerous thing. At a time when state revenue is up, the rainy day fund is brimming over, and federal stimulus dollars are still pouring in, the potential for tax relief should be at the top of the list. But Massachusetts citizens are being asked to raise taxes on just about everyone. The WCRN News is brought to you by John the Roofer, a leader in the roofing and home improvements business for more than 70 years. Call 866-906-ROOF or go to the internet and see johntheroofer.com.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. His tears cure cancer. Too bad he never cries. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Box Shop Middlesex Mattress Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. We're talking about the president's trip over to Brussels and meeting with the G7 and NATO nations. He had talking before I went on the air today. He did stop to talk to one of the airborne battalions out there and talk to them about their role and how much that we owe them. And he started to talk a little bit again about these resets that take place. And in this, I'm connecting to his comment about a new world order the other day. And this whole new world order thing is something of concern, because under whose order is it that the world is going to be under? Is the entire rest of the globe going to come under our way of life, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our justice system? Or are we supposed to go under someone else's? And you're not going to get a whole planet to agree on this. There's too much conflict in culture and in religion and economics. It's just the whole new world order thing is something that has been talked about and worked on. It's not new. It's been happening for years in the shadows, in the background. And I've said this for years, we have got to continually go back to our owner's manual. And the owner's manual for the United States of America is called the United States Constitution. That lays out what we are. We're a nation that is not here because of geographical location and ethnicity or religion. We're here because of an idea. We're here on the principles of those ideas. That's what binds us together. And that's why people of every race, creed, color, gender, sexuality, whatever, comes to the United States of America, because it just matters who you are, not what you are. It matters what you do, your character. Remember the content of one character, right? Not the color of the skin. So this talk about whole new world order should be concerning, if not alarming, to you folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's jump to the phones. Ken out of Bolton. Hey, Ken, good afternoon, man. I'll let you do your thing.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Oh, no Patriots? No.
I do that on Sundays.
All right, well, my bad. We'll keep it for Sunday.
I will wait.
I think I'll have an elongated show. Mike, I'm not sure Mike's going to be in. He may come in later in the part, but I'll be there for at least the 3 hours. But he may not come into the latter part of the show on Sunday. So buckle in.
Right. Sure.
Did you get a chance to see President Biden speak yesterday at his presser, or any of the fallout from it?
Oh, I think I've maybe seen 10 second snippets.
Mm-hmm.
The things that aren't all that complimentary. But that's the nature of the world we live in.
Yeah. Let me ask you about that in-kind contribution remark. Do you think that was a slip of the tongue and just kind of being lazy about using an expression, or do you think he actually means in kind? We will respond with the same kind of assault that he does, i.e. chemical weapons.
I'll be honest. When I first heard it, I found it to be acceptable because I've gotten used to him saying much worse things. So I didn't.
Your Joe Biden filter was on, right?
Yeah, I guess, you sort of grade on the curve, and he has a low one. So I don't anticipate him actually using chemical weapons, even though the way he worded it could be interpreted that way. So I just thought he was vague, and given, his past track record, I'd rather leave it that way, because he could step in it by saying something, like, just a mild incursion would be okay.
Yeah.
That was much worse.
Yeah.
So this I found nowhere near that level of bad. So anyway, I wanted to tie together what's been in the news this week. One of the weapons that apparently was used, that I don't know if it's been clearly verified, but they describe it as a hypersonic missile of some sort.
Yep. It can go
And,
up to 12 times the speed of sound.
So I guess that's the next level up from supersonic, because when we were younger, we heard that used a lot in aircraft and the like. Well, apparently this all kind of links into an old story. Can you guess who helped fund that?
The supersonic?
Yeah, this hypersonic.
Hypersonic, yeah.
Yeah.
No, share with it. We don't have time for guessing.
That'd be the Clinton Foundation.
The Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, through,
I thought the
Kosovo.
Clinton Foundation was supposed to be a humanitarian, bring water, health, and all that, and rebuild Haiti.
That's a diversion. That's not really what they're after. You remember they shipped a lot of uranium to Russia, and one of the other things they did is they assisted in the Skolkovo Innovation Center. And guess what they do? They make the things like the hypersonic materials. So, each scratches their own back, and Clinton Foundation gets to do their thing, as Hillary was Secretary of the State at the time. Remember, she had that button.
Yeah, she had the whole reset button. Look, it goes back to this, right? Because we can have example after example. We always say that whatever the Clintons or that far left, that part, I'm not talking about the like common sense middle of the road Democrat. I'm talking about the elites and the progressives of the Clinton Obama branch and stuff. You see this all the time, and we can go to example after example. Whatever they are projecting on to Donald Trump or on to Trump supporters or Republicans is usually they themselves what they're doing, right? And we find this all out as everything comes out. So now all that Russian, the hoax about Trump and so forth, you have to think, well, what is, because now we find out, Hillary was using Russian operatives, English operatives, ex-MI6 spy and so forth to put together the whole bull thing about the collusion while spying on Trump all the way into the White House, which now it doesn't matter who the president is. Once you infiltrate to spy on those servers in the office of the president, that is treason. It's the office that you're penetrating, not that person. So that changes things hugely. And when you put Biden, who has always been, let's face it, a useful tool to them, right? And they call it in the spy world a useful idiot. You gotta, and I have to wonder, and I can't be the only one. And matter of fact, I know Kudlow brought this fact up. What does China and Russia know about or have on Joe Biden? Because I'm going to ask you, Ken, I'm going to ask the listeners. Does Biden seem to be behaving like the most powerful man in the world who wants to bring a stop to this and put Russia in its place? My answer is I don't think he is. And then you have to ask why. Why isn't he behaving like he should? And then you got to think back about all of those things you're talking about, the connection between the Clintons and the Obamas and Russia and certain Middle East nations. And then you got to look at now that it's official, right? The laptop, this is a whole nother discussion why we the world can only believe it once the New York Times verifies it. Let's put a pin in that discussion for a moment. But now that the laptop is, and in one of those clips on the laptop, Hunter's saying to, and we don't know if the woman's on the clock or not, but it says to the woman about losing the laptop, several laptops, than what's on it, and that Russia has a lot of info, and my father's running for president. He says that on the video. So what does that mean? And what do they have on him? So do you think that Joe Biden's actions and behavior is tempered by compromising information that might be in the possession of China and Russia? That was a question. Did we lose Ken?
Hunter got at least.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought I lost you.
I'm trying to speak. Do you hear me?
I do now. Yeah.
Oh, good. Peter Schweitzer reports that at least 3 million hunters collected from Ukraine, 4 million from Russia, and 30 million from China. So that answers your question.
Yeah.
And if it ever gets in court, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, well, we're going to have to take a break at 44 and a half minutes here, but I got to tell you, the pictures and all that, yeah, that's fine. Salacious. Oh, he's doing drugs and that old news. I don't care that, but it's the emails. The emails are what tells the story, and they match up with what Tony Babalewski had to say. And this guy, he's quiet. I don't know where he is, and I hope he's safe and healthy. But we got to take a quick break here, folks. We'll come back for the fourth and final segment of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Stick with us. Hey folks, Joe Mangiacotti here, and I have recently purged and refreshed with new furniture and, most importantly, a new bed. We spend about a third of our life on our mattresses, and it's so vital we have the right one, and we don't break the bank to do that. I first bought a mattress from the big store the brothers used to own, and a power base that moved the head and feet, and then I met John, and I checked out his showroom at 50 Main Street in Ashland and online at boxdropmiddlesex.com, and ended up with a better mattress, a power base that also heats and massages, all for less than half of what I was going to spend at the other place. Boxdrop is a discount mattress store, and John specializes in clearance and closeouts, and he buys directly from the manufacturer with a low overhead and just family employees, passing the savings on to you, and you can see it reflected in the price every day. Click boxdropmiddlesex.com or call John on his cell. This is his cell number, 508-579-9303. That's so here is the
508-579-9303.
And you can find John on Facebook
at
Boxdrop Middlesex. John loves referrals, and this is the best referral I've given so far this year. Dropboxmiddlesex.com.
We're going to lunch.
We're going to lunch? This is Out with Joe. With Joe Mangiacotti.
Actually, honey, we're going to lunch.
Restaurants, food and drink, entertainment.
Put some bacon on a biscuit and let's go.
Now it's time to go out with Joe.
Welcome to this edition of Out with Joe, brought to you by Levante's Auto School with 5 locations. Click Levante's Auto School to find one near you. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. And this week, we're going to turn our attention, to the weather. The weather has gotten better. This is like 5 minutes, right?
Way, and that means patio
That's too long for this.
Arrived. Not too soon. For more on this, let's go to our friend Mark
Sunday
Lewis,
morning,
who is writing for Dig Boston these days.
Huh?
Hi, Joe. How's it going?
I did
Fantastic,
actually,
Mark.
in the email.
Spring is around the corner. We already had like one really good spring day already. Got me excited.
I know, and more is on the way, that's for sure. It's only March right now, so it's early.
Tell us, how have the restaurants been dealing with 2 years of COVID, shutting down? A lot of mom and pops went away. A lot of these restaurants got those special licenses to have where they didn't have dining out, right? They didn't have the patio. They got the special license. Those got pushed.
Yeah, and I'll say tune in Sunday morning for the rest of it.
Now the patio weather is back. Is this going to be a game changer or a life?
Still got to play the Levante's.
I think we're at a kind of a crossroads because
actually no, he's getting bonus that right now. Well, actually he's not. He pays a flat fee, and I do whatever I want with
the
him.
The whole thing with the outdoor patios, that is very close now. So it's possible, knock wood, that restaurants will be finally doing both indoor and outdoor dining equally well, as long as COVID doesn't rear its ugly head again.
Well, You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. He brings a knife to a gunfight, just to make the odds even. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment. And to hear the rest This Out with Joe Sunday morning at 6:30. We will play its entirety, but you can always go to outwithjoe.com and pick it up there or in the Out with Joe Facebook page. It's posted. You can listen to the whole discussion with Mark Hurwitz, and we also get into of course the price, right? So all these restaurants after 2 years are returning. People are excited to start dining out again without all these ridiculous rules and in between masks and all that. And they find out that the food price has gone way up, right? And they're paying ridiculous amounts to sit down. Now, the hardcore restaurateurs, they'll probably continue to go, but I think most people will cut down the number of times that they dine out. But we get into that on Sunday. So check it out. And like I said, you can always check it out early at outwithjoe.com and on our Facebook page. All right, 508-871-7000 for the fourth and final segment. You wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I heard a report yesterday that a guy out in the Midwest is charging $17 for a brisket sandwich, and he's asking his customers not to order brisket so he doesn't have to charge that.
Wow.
$17.
Yeah. Well, lunches also, right, are going through the roof, as people return to work. And another side thing is there's a lot of friction of people going back into offices. A lot of people don't want to. Now that the work from home, remote working or hybrid situation has worked for a couple of years, and CEOs and owners of companies have been resistant to that. So and a lot of people are saying this, well, now there's a movement that they should get paid for the commuter time. The price of lunches have gone up. Gutfeld was talking on the 5 the other day. The soup that he gets, whatever, downstairs or across the street or whatever in New York, $17 for soup. $17. If you had to spend $20 a day just for lunch, I mean, now you're $100 a week just to eat lunch. Of course, you're going to brown bag it or whatever. But I mean, if you're making $7 million a year, I'm not sure that's going to really hurt you. But the point is, for most of us, having to spend an extra $100 a week to eat lunch is certainly going to affect us. And so does an extra $40 or $50 a week in gas also affect us. Because when we start talking about another $200 to $300 a month for gas, and gas that we don't have an option. I have talked about this a zillion times, folks, that the most inequitable tax and expense that there is on the middle class is the gas tax, the cost of fuel, because the paycheck people working paycheck to paycheck, and the stats, right? Like very few people, if there was $1,000 emergency expense, they wouldn't have the cash on hand to pay it. Actually, the last poll I saw was a $400 expense. The majority of the people in this country said they couldn't meet an unexpected $400 emergency expense. So imagine half of that every month coming into your budget. Something else has to go. Another discussion for another time. Going back to the visit and the president, the New World Order and all that. Now, the two other things that bothered me that came out, and I don't really have time to get into both of them. We can do it Sunday morning. But one is the deter factor, right? And you could tell that Joe was up and he was cranky. Probably, I don't know if he got enough sleep in Air Force One, but when he took questions after that moved up presser, and he wasn't going to take any, right? He took a couple, he was walking out there yelling and so forth, and it's all scripted, all listed like it always is. And then he does call in a reporter. He ends up snapping, right? He gets angry. He's like that granddad or that old uncle that has no, when they're not the president of the United States, it's kind of funny because they're old and they don't care and they're not going to take any guff. But he snapped at this reporter because she asked about the sanctions. And if they aren't working, where are we going to be? And he snapped at her about the deterrence. Now, the problem here, folks, now you have the president saying sanctions were never meant to deter. Well, tell the rest of the administration, right? Because White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said they were, right? Jen Psaki, your mouthpiece, said they were. Oh, yeah. And Vice President Harris said they were. So your entire staff is giving the message to the American people that the purpose of these sanctions are to deter. And he comes out and says, that's not their purpose. And then you wonder why the confidence in the current administration is as low as it is. You wonder why his ratings are as low as they are, and the disapprovals are so high. You are giving two contrary messages here. And back when he said, we're going to put these in and we'll visit in a month. Well, yesterday, the 24th, was a month. And Biden, look, Putin knew these things were coming. He already made his life sanction proof because we got this whole issue of the $700 million yacht sitting moored over in Italy, where a few days ago, the Russian staff disappeared and an Italian staff took over. And nobody can seem to confirm whose yacht this is, but a yacht that's nearly 500 feet long and can convert into a battleship. I would suspect it belongs to a head of state, and I'm pretty sure probably belongs to Putin. Now, the thing is, obviously, it's a mega yacht. I mean, it's gorgeous. It has a dance floor that converts into a pool, solid gold toilet paper holders, and all of that. But it also is armed to the teeth, and it's steel reinforced. And it can go very fast. Now, will he ever see this again? Will he ever see this yacht again? Yet to be seen. But to say that the reason for the sanctions was never to deter him, well, your entire administration says the exact opposite. You really have to get on the same page, literally on the same page. Why don't you hand the memo out or at least have a meeting? Because on top of all of this, we're getting. Oh, you want to talk? Oh, I thought you were giving me minute sign. Sorry.
No. One of the things that he went on to say in that presser was that the sanctions were going to cause problems for everyone.
Yeah.
And the American people should expect food to be scarce.
Well, that's the next thing I was going to get on to, right? Is that the other thing that he said is that there would be a food shortage, that we would have to prepare for a shortage, that we all are going to have to pay for this. But this also comes back to coming from the left all the time in this current administration. What is the messaging there? That we're just too dumb, fat, and happy. That we need to lower expectations. We need to buy an electric car while we have to eat yentl or lentils instead of meat. It's so contradicting of what they're saying and how they're saying it and what they're telling us, that we are just, we're too used to things. You don't need 2-3 cars in your family. Go buy an $80,000 electric car while you're telling us to eat lentils instead of steak. What is that? And yes, okay, by the way, Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. But not only that, I mean, they're the number one wheat exporter in the world. And if you don't realize, right, the Ukrainian flag is representative of that. I don't know if people understand that, but the blue on the top, and that's how the flag goes, by the way, the blue on the top represents sky. And the gold or yellow on the bottom actually represents wheat. So it's in their flag. Their nation's flag is symbolic of the fact that they produce the most wheat on the planet. And then Russia does. And we, the United States, a third producer. So we have to pick up the slack there. But you know what could really do this? Is unleashing
1 minute
the American enterprises on the energy stage. And you're asking, Jen says, hey, the 9,000 or 7,000 leases out there. Well, what she doesn't say is half of them are no good. The other part is you're asking private business people to invest their fortunes into this project when they don't know if the carpet will be pulled out from under them at any second, because you have a hostile administration against fossil fuels. If they knew that if they dropped $1 billion in exploration and drilling, that they were going to be able to pull out enough natural gas and or oil to get the $1 billion and then some back. Again, I don't have time to get into this Sunday morning. We'll get into the price of barrel, how the price of oil coincides with Russia's aggressiveness and that kind of thing. But that does wrap up the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Middlesex Backdrop Mattress Studios. I'll be back Sunday morning at 6 a.m. And be filling in for most of Mike. He might join us later in the morning, but I'll be here Sunday morning. You enjoy your weekend, folks. And don't forget to follow me at Joe Mangie Show on social media platforms. Joe out, folks.